YouTube family, it's Carl Baldessar. I'm back again with another episode. I'm really excited to bring this to you because we're going to cover none other than Led Zeppelin's Kashmir, which I think is the greatest song in their catalog for a lot of different reasons, but it certainly is one of the most original pieces that anybody has ever written. There's really nothing similar that came before it. And I think this was the high point in their career as composers because, like many artists, they start out with copying material in their use that they were really inspired by. So the first level of writing in your development is copying, and then it's emulating, and then it's actually composing. And they kind of move from Zeppelin 1, Zeppelin 2, and sort of the emulation phase. Zeppelin 3, you started hearing some real kind of creative modes coming out. And then the fourth step in terms of a composer's career that very few get to is the step of innovation. And these guys invented music when they got to their most mature level. And I think Kashmir is the epitome of that fourth level of writing, which is innovation. This song came out on their fifth album, Physical Graffiti, and it was released on the 24th of February, 1975. A great year in music. Please check out my 2 episodes on all the riffs from 1975. But this song, again, was sort of the apex of their writing career, in my estimation. And it's very unique, and I'm looking forward to kind of breaking down the parts for you and give you some insight as a composer as to what I think makes this song so unique. The song came together while they were writing and recording at Headley Grange back in like 1973, 74. And actually it was Bonham and Page that during one of their breaks actually started to kind of stretch out this riff. And there's actually recordings on YouTube where you can hear the two of them jamming out the song. But actually before this, Robert Plant had written lyrics about a journey. And then John Paul Jones comes in and he brings in the orchestration. And so it really was the height of their collaboration where they all brought their own unique perspectives and it fell together in this entrancing piece of music. So let's start looking at the riffs of Kashmir. And as the lyric goes, let me take you there to riff number 1. Right, so that's your verse phrase. Now let's take a look at what's going on here because there's this amazing tension that's created by the motions that are going on. So the beautiful tension that's created in the verse rhythm is because of these sort of contracting intervals that we have. We start off with a fifth, then we have a minor sixth, we have a major sixth, a minor seventh, and then an octave. And if you'll notice the notes that we're playing here with a D kind of droning on the bottom, right? It's A, let's call it A sharp as we're climbing, B, C, and then we skip all the way up to D. Now why do I make a big point of that? Is that we're in this modal universe and you'll notice what they're not doing is they're not hitting a C sharp or a leading tone of D. They're skipping that. I'll come back to the importance of C sharp as we go through the song. But this motion's called oblique motion, which we have a static bass note, the D. Then we have this climbing. And as you feel the tension against that rising upper voice against the static low D, I mean, it really has sort of a hypnotic feel to it. And as you play this rhythm on guitar, the key is to strike the notes evenly. So an even stroke on the way down met by an even stroke on the way up. You want to make sure it's very even so you get this feel. If you look at my pick sweep, my pick stroke, really I'm very careful making sure that on those 3 strings, I'm having sort of an equal radius around the 2. So it's right? And And so that's really important. And the other thing is to remember that you want to give the notes a full duration, okay? So we're not playing too staccato here, all right? So again, it's... But the notes are slightly disconnected, so there's a real fine line in terms of having it drone versus having these little separations. You need to do that, okay? And that allows the two voices to speak against each other. And you'll also notice that when I'm hitting the low D string, which I do here, you'll see it constantly hitting the low D string. Okay? Upstroking the D string, because when I upstroke the D string, I'm getting a really unique rotation of the string versus a downstroke. And that allows you to have sort of the droning sound, but not muddy. It's also important that you don't over pull up on that string, because it will go out of tune. So that's too much. Yeah, you want to make sure you're getting that D struck just right and get a beautiful rotation on that string. If you're as much a Led Zeppelin fan as I am, and boy am I a fan because I've got a band called The Soul of Zeppelin, and we got some really great t-shirts for you. You can find them at carlbaldessarmusic.com. Go to the store. You can pick from 2 styles. They're all custom made. carlbaldessarmusic.com. So an important compositional elements happening here in Kashmir where we have these ascending gestures, which we have in the verse, right? And now I'm going to give you kind of the release part, and it's a descending gesture, and that's this figure here. And what's really cool about that, if you can compare it to the ascending figure, and they work together, it's this sort of binary motion in the song. I think the ascending part, to me, it feels very arid and very desert-like, and it really ties into the lyrics. And so you have this thirst when you're climbing. I mean, you have this growing longing and thirst, and then you get kind of the water, you get the quenching of that thirst on the way down. And you notice I'm deliberately playing the descending part with upstrokes. Now he mixes it when he's doing it live. He will do upstrokes usually to start with, so and he'll mix it with up and down strokes. But it's really important to kind of get the feel of the upstrokes, because that is actually allowing you to feature the melodic tones by starting with the upstroke. Because if you start with the downstroke, you're going to get the D on the 4th string ringing, and that has a tendency to overshadow the beautiful harmonic movement of the upstrokes, of the notes in the upstrokes, as you'll see these little half steps that are happening. It allows them to speak. It's a series of half steps all the way down. And what makes it feel so Eastern is the droning that we're having happening here in reverse with the fretted finger on the 1st string. So we get very Eastern. And that little tag idiom on the end is important because it's a connecting piece as we go around. You'll see in a moment. So where do we go from there? We have this ascending gesture, this descending gesture, and that becomes our verse. And then we have to have this diversion into a bridge. And it becomes a rock song for a second with a little bit of a twist. So the bridge part follows the descending part. Sounds like this. Yeah, can you hear Plant's voice in your head right there? I certainly can. So what I'll point out is on this part, on this A power chord part, right? It's all upbeats except for the first one. Even the descending slide ends on an upbeat, right? So if we were going to try to count that, let me put my guitar down and clap with this. You get this syncopated rhythm, all these upbeats, and I'm going to show you some gestures so you can visually see what's happening, okay? So when I clap my hands, that is a note that's struck and sounded. When I open my hands and just kind of move them, that's a rest. And so I'm going to do this in eighth notes, okay? So now watch, I will clap it out visually for you, okay? So here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Look at all that space that's happening right there. But notice everything is on the upbeat, okay, except for the first hit. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, right? You see that? All those upbeats. And what's tricky when you translate it to the guitar, I find that the last one is what's really important. It's on the, so you get that, right? So get that on the upbeat, man. And the whole band, if you're playing this with the band, you got to make sure everybody is in sync with this or it just falls apart. It does not work if you're not hitting these upbeats like that. So see that? That last power chord is on the upbeat. So you got to get that, right? And then of course, then we have this little motive that's happening. Yeah. So it's really fun to play, but you got to make sure you get those upbeats and understand all the rest and how important the space between the notes is where the music is. And it's really where Robert Plant's lyrics and vocalizing is happening, okay? Really important part of this song is all the space between the notes because we're talking about a journey really in an arid land. And so I think the space really speaks to that. If you're enjoying this breakdown of Kashmir and all the architecture of the song and the different modal things that are happening, you really would like my song called Sands of Tarifa on my album Grand Boulevard. I recorded it at Abbey Road Studio, and I wrote it as an homage to Kashmir, but it definitely has that Eastern feel. It's a rock band with an orchestra. It's very, very cool. It's called Sands of Tarifa on Grand Boulevard, and you can find it at carlbaldessarmusic.com. That's carlbaldessarmusic.com. And back to our regularly scheduled programming. All right, now we get to the fourth figure in the song. It's, I guess, what I would call the chorus, okay? And it's really just sort of a binary structure where we're going between G and A. Both of them really kind of perfect fifths, really not a declared third in there to be had, okay? But the other thing that's happening is the harmonic rhythm is really long for the chords. So when you have the listen how long those gestures are, right? So the other beautiful thing about the composition of this, you know, we had the rising line was kind of these longer gestures. The descending line is faster harmonic rhythm. And then you get to the bridge parts, all the syncopated stuff. And now we come to this chorus and we have these long vistas of, you know, harmonic pads that are just fantastic. Let's take a look at some of the stuff that's going on while they do that in terms of what Jimmy Page is doing. So he is just hitting a G with these kind of perfect fifths going on here. Now sometimes you can do this. Did you catch that? Yeah. You can put that in there and get sort of that Eastern sound, right? Then when he's hitting the A, he does it a number of different ways. So he'll do sort of a bar chord. Has these E's in it, so we have an A, we have an E, we have an A, we have an E, and then we have this unison E. A cool thing with the dadgad, because the B string is detuned to an A, I can play E on the third string, but I also have an E on the second string, and so you get this really chimey. Is that beautiful or what? Right? He'll also give you some motion then on that chord, on the A chord. So he'll strike it here. He'll move this up to here. And sometimes he'll add little figures to it. So it's just really beautiful textures and it's really great chimey guitar, and I just love all the little movements on the A chord. Yeah, and I should mention that, you know, when he's breaking away from the perfect fifth, beautiful stacked power chord and he starts sliding around, you get a C sharp. So we actually have a very declared A major sound right there. So it's interesting as we're getting to the end here, because they repeat this chorus section at the end, you get this beautiful outro. And that C sharp, remember I said at the beginning that they kind of leave us hanging on the climbing line? No C sharp. It just goes right from C to D. So now in the story, let me take you there, let me take you there is the lyric, right? And they're kind of suggesting what it looks like and what home is. A major, the C sharp. And the C sharp is the leading tone of D. And so we didn't have it declared before, but we have it declared, but it doesn't go back to D, it goes to G. That's because in the song and in the lyrics, in my estimation, is that let me take you there, that the person who's reciting the story is telling about a place that he has seen. Now, he's seen it in a dream or he saw it in real life. Chances are, I view it that it's a vision of a place that he wants to go, all right? And he wants to take you there. But actually, we never get there. We never turn that C sharp into a D major resolution. So it's very poetic in a way, and it's very powerful how that C sharp is used but not resolved. Okay, so let's take the final outro chorus, which are the same G and A's, right? And you get this amazing modal line that's happening. I think it's one of the most brilliant things that Page and company have done in this song. And here's the line. Right? Very strange sounding, isn't it? But really what's happening here is that we're in G Dorian. So what does G Dorian mean? Basically, Dorian is the second mode, so we're going to say, what key signature has G as its second note? Answer is F. So that would mean that I'm going to be playing all the notes in the key of F, so there's going to be, what's the key signature of F? It's B flat. So I'm going to be playing all the notes in the key of F, and there's going to be a B flat in it because that's what the key signature dictates. So for almost the entire run, I'm in F. So we have great, we got G Dorian, but then guess what? We're going to end with 3 whole steps, and all that's doing is pointing us to B natural instead of B flat to the C sharp to get us, push us to the A chord, right? Now Page on the live versions, he'll kind of like do a bend there, and sometimes he'll do he'll go up there and bend. So it's really a beautiful modal line, and then they switch it up with B flat Lydian. Now again, what key are we in? We're talking B flat Lydian. Shouldn't be a surprise by asking yourself, what key signature has the 4th note of B flat? Well, if we work backwards, it's the key of F again. So we're still in the key signature of F for most of this run, but it has an unusual way of making the phrase start and feel differently, because when I start on B flat and play an F major scale, does that sound interesting to you? And if it does, it's because there's a whole tone scale starting on that. But take the whole figure now. This is what he's doing here. So it's, and he's ending on E, okay? So we have these modal shifting things, but they're kind of governed by the key of F with these few escape tones, the B natural and the C sharp, which help, again, propel you into the A chord, okay? It's just, the writing is so brilliant, I just can't say enough about it. Now I want to show you a couple of other little tricks in terms of how to play that live. Now, Jimmy has used like an octave divider, and sometimes I'll hear like a harmonizer, he'll do fourths, you know? You'll hear that kind of a vibe. Other times, if you just want to thicken up the progression, again, you've got your octaves or your friend in dadgad, you can do. using octaves. So, man, the harmonic content here and the way the whole thing fits together compositionally, emotionally, and let's not forget the storyline, you know, of the song and how it ties in. And if I was going to look at some of the lyrics here and just show how the lyrics and the story fit with all this music, you know, I look at some of these lyrics here, you know, where he's talking about, "Oh, let the sun beat down upon my face, stars to fill my dream." I think about, again, that ascending thing feeling so arid and desert-like, you know, and he's talking about the sun beating down on his face, you know. In terms of the lack of resolution and the C sharp being unresolved, that, you know, they talk of days of which they sit and wait. They're waiting because C sharp never goes to a D there. And it all will be revealed when we get there. You know, he's talking about try to find the way I feel. And then he's talking about at the end, let me take you there, let me take you there, let me take you there. And I just think, again, I think this is the greatest Led Zeppelin song ever written for all of those reasons and more. So there you have it, the song Kashmir. I think the greatest composition by Led Zeppelin. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like and subscribe, share my channel with others, and we'll be back with more content very soon. We'll see you again. I'm Carl Baldessar.